Hey there trekkers, Rebecca Burns here, otherwise known as Cowgirl. I'm here to give you an overview of the gear that I carried from Mexico to Canada on the PCT this last summer. So on the PCT, a lot of thought went into the gear that I carried. Honestly, that's where a majority of my planning went in. I thought I was going to have the entire trail planned out, mile by mile, resupply by resupply, but life got in the way, which is totally fine. That's what happens. So all I really did was plan my gear and have a brief itinerary for my family. And I'm really happy I focused on gear because coming into the PCT, my base weight would have been at least 20 pounds. So I spent a lot of time researching, and I also invested some money into buying new gear. So when it comes into long distance backpacking, a lot of what you think about in your base weight is the big three. So it's your backpack, your sleeping bag, and your shelter. So for me, I used a Hyperlight Southwest 2400 pack, a Patagonia 19 degree 850 fill down sleeping bag, and I used a Six Moons Design Trekker Skyscape. And I loved all three. Granted, my trail name is Cowgirl, so I really didn't sleep in my tent that often, but when I had it up, it was awesome. My sleeping bag, a lot of people go for quilts, but as someone who sleeps really cold, I decided to go for a full-on sleeping bag. And after having a synthetic sleeping bag pretty much my whole life, I decided to take the leap into down. And honestly, the one downside of that sleeping bag is it's so comfy, I wouldn't want to get out of it in the heat. But as someone who generally sleeps cold every single night, in that Patagonia bag, I was warm just about every night. I would say I slept cold maybe 5 nights on trail, which is a big deal here. And then your pack. Your pack is the thing that is with you all the time. And so you want to make sure it's something comfortable. And so this pack kind of fell into my hands a couple years ago as a gift. Thank you, Andrea and Joe. And yeah, none of us expected it to go to from Mexico to Canada, but it did. And it was awesome. Like before, I had used it as a cragging pack or just like as an overnight pack, but now it's just like, it's my go-to pack. It held up really, really well. The only damage was, yes, I did carry an ice axe, not for very long, but it split in the bottom. Not a big deal. Duct tape saved me. Yeah, and it's honestly inside, it's like a giant black hole. So it makes packing and unpacking really easy. And having the huge pockets up front and on the side was really nice for carrying like an extra layer or snacks. And for a lot of the trail, I even kept my water outside of my pack so I could refill a lot easier. And then the one downside of it, it's not very breathable and it doesn't have a lot of cushioning. So if you're carrying a heavier load, or like for me when I had a bear can, I wasn't the happiest of campers just because I had a lot of rubbing and things like that on my back. But once I got rid of my bear can, it was way better. And then I also bought a ULA pocket, which was super nice. So I got to keep my phone, like a candy bar or something like that in it, a bag of gummy bears. So you never know what you want to have close to you, but this was really nice to just have the things that I needed easy access to right there. And then Hyperlight has just updated the hip belt pockets, but I have one of the older ones. So mine were pretty small, which is a bit of a downside, but I was able to fit things like hand sanitizer, chapstick, my headlamp, things like that. So all in all, this pack was awesome, and I mean, it's ready to go for another thru-hike. Having an ultralight layering system is really important, especially on the PCT when you're going through all different environments. And the thing that's really important to know is that it's okay to send things back. I honestly, at one point, had maybe half the gear that I have with me right now. So a lot of my gear was coming and going. Thank you to my sister Jenna for receiving that stinky hiker gear and then sending it back out to me when I needed it most, which was super nice. So having someone in your family or maybe a friend help you get your gear sorted and kind of having an arsenal ready to go. So if you need something else or need something different, then you have it waiting for you. So I have a Patagonia Micro Puff hoodie. It's a synthetic puffy. It just came out last year. It's super nice. It's really lightweight. But the cool thing about it is that it's synthetic, so it'll keep you warm when it's wet, and it also it washes a lot easier. So a lot of the people I was with on trail, they all had down jackets, which are awesome. They definitely keep you a lot warmer, and they pack down really well. But the nice thing about this jacket is that since it's synthetic, it's way easier to maintain. So I got to have a clean jacket every couple of weeks when I was in town. Next, my rain shell. This is the Patagonia Stretch Rain Shadow. So it uses their H2No waterproofing, so it's not Gore-Tex, but it performs the same way. And it's really lightweight and breathable, and it has the pit zips too, which is really nice. I hiked in this jacket a lot, especially in Washington. So when I was in Washington, I had 7 straight days of rain, and on day 7 is when this jacket soaked through. It did smell pretty bad when I got off trail. I work as an outdoor educator, and so week 1 back to work, before I even had a chance to wash this jacket, it rained, of course, and I had a 6th grader tell me I smelled bad. She was pretty accurate. So make sure you wash it before you wear it again. But yeah, it's still kicking. It still smells a little bit like a dirty thru-hiker, but gives it character. And then my fleece layer was the Patagonia R1 hoodie. And so what's really nice about this is it has a really great hood, and it zips up kind of like a balaclava. So I didn't even have to carry a hat or anything like that with me, because you have a built-in hood that functions the same. But this was really nice. I got this in the last 200 miles of trail, as it was really starting to get cold in Washington. And man, this saved me from some cold nights. So it was really great. And then I am one of those bougie thru-hikers that has sleep clothes. But for me, since I sleep so cold generally, I have to have something dry and something warmer in order for me to sleep well. So I carried the Patagonia Capilene midweight top, and the same in the bottoms. So these are really great. They're synthetic. They do smell kind of bad still, but they kept me really warm and comfortable. I would consider going up to thermal weight as it was getting colder, but all in all, these were awesome. And these actually stayed with me pretty much the whole trail, which was super cool. And then, if you can believe it, these are my rain pants right here. So I carried the Patagonia Alpine Houdini pants. So these also use the H2No waterproofing, similar to the Stretch Rain Shadow. And they fold into the pocket, so they pack down really small. But there, you've got a real pair of pants. The one downside of these, especially by the end when I was like losing weight every single day, these fell down a lot, but they do have a drawstring. But I was getting really good at peeing with my pack on. These made it really hard. But all in all, they're lightweight and they're waterproof, and that's all you really need in rain pants. And then we come into the outfit that made it all the way from Mexico to Canada. So I walked in an Under Armour t-shirt, if you can believe it. This shirt actually used to be this color. It faded a lot, and I did some fancy patchwork in the sleeve because the sleeve started to shred. This one started to shred in the last week. My family joked a lot that I looked homeless. I tried buying a new shirt in Etna, so just before Oregon, and that shirt lasted about 10 minutes on trail because I felt attached to that one. It was great. It was lightweight, breathable. Under Armour makes a great product. And then these shorts I bought my freshman year of college back in 2012. And these have kind of been my field shorts for the last couple of years. They also used to be black. They faded quite a bit. But yeah, the only thing with them is that they're fraying and they became split shorts on one side. So a little more freedom, just one side only. But they were awesome, super comfortable, didn't chafe at all. So your feet are probably the most important thing that you have on trail. They're the ones that are taking all of the impact from walking from Mexico to Canada. That's a lot of pressure to put on your feet. So you want to make sure that you take care of them. So what I used was trekking poles. I have these Black Diamond trailback trekking poles that I've had for probably 3 years. And they're not the lightest or anything like that, but they're pretty burly. And the funny thing is too, they weren't anatomically correct when I bought them, but I somehow remember that the right hands in them and they became anatomically correct. Yeah, the only downside of them, the lava fields in Oregon claimed one of the tips. But besides that, they're still going strong. And then when it comes to your feet, so I hiked pretty much only in Injinji toe socks, which were really awesome, especially when it was getting really wet in the Sierra, just like 40 feet every day. It was really nice to have my toes separated so that I didn't blister in between them. And then I also used Dirty Girl gaiters, which were awesome. Carpe donut made me crave donuts a lot on trail. But I'm the type of person that gets really annoyed by any sort of something in my shoe. So if it's like the tiniest of pebbles, I am stopping immediately to take it out. And these definitely saved me a lot from that, which was really great. And then for shoes, I hiked only in ultras. I don't have any to show you because they all got trashed. My first 2 pairs were the Lone Peaks, which were great. The 3.5s I was a huge fan of. And my second pair of Lone Peaks I got over 1,000 miles on. When I went to Ashland, the woman at the outfitter was pretty amazed that they looked so good, to the point that she took photos to send to the rep. And at that point too, they were transitioning into the 4.0, and so my Sasquatch feet, I was size 11 at that point. It was challenging to find the right size for me, and so I ended up having to switch into the Timps, which were awesome as well. They have a lot more cushioning, but the downside of them, the upper just fell apart on me, and I was too stubborn to buy a new pair. So with 200 miles to go, I had a hole that was probably this big along my arch, and with 50 miles to go, I had the slightest of trips, and what used to be my good shoe ended up ripping probably 5 inches all the way around my foot. So I walked into Canada with duct tape holding my shoes together. So it happens. And then transitioning, I ended up going into a rechargeable headlamp. This is the Black Diamond Revolt. I started the trail with a Spot, which is pretty much the same headlamp. The one thing is that the Spot just uses regular AAA batteries, whereas the Revolt actually recharges, which is super nice. I found I did a lot of night hiking in the desert, and so having a headlamp fading and then having to throw away batteries when they still had life left in them, I wasn't a huge fan of. But I switched over to the Revolt at mile 702 at Kennedy Meadows, and I was a huge fan. It was great. I always had a bright headlamp as long as I remembered to charge it. Always carry extra batteries. You never know. But yeah, it has a really great battery life, and I was just lazy about charging it. And also there was some unplanned night hiking in Washington too. It happens. And then my trusty trowel. I use the Deuce of Spades right here. This thing weighs a fraction of an ounce, which is awesome. It's super lightweight, and I mean, what more do you need in a trowel? It digs a hole for you. So took care of the job. And then transitioning into my cook system, I used an MSR Pocket Rocket 2. It folds down really small. It's durable. I've had this one for the entire trail, even before. And the only thing that's going wrong with it is it's clogging a little bit. But if you just bang it on the ground, it's fine. But yeah, it's still kicking, still going strong. I used some of the smaller canisters for most of the trail when I carried my stove. I ditched it for half of the desert and considered ditching it again in NorCal and Oregon. But by the time Washington hit, then I was having hot meals, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, along with multiple hot drinks a day. So we were getting bougie out there. And then my pot is a Snow Peak 900 titanium. And what's really nice about it is it has a built-in frying pan as the lid. So this is a little bit bigger than what you'll see for most thru-hikers, but it was really nice because I could have a double pack of ramen in this, and then I could also have like dessert pudding or something like that in the lid, so it was ready to go. This also came in handy when my tent got taken over by a mouse in Washington, so it's great for self-defense too. And then coming into my water system, I used a Sawyer squeeze. By the end though, we called it a luxury item. It was just getting really cold in Washington. I was getting really lazy and I stopped filtering water. I paid the price and got sick when I got home. But I mean, the water up there is pretty pure, but always filter water. And make sure, the Sawyer was awesome. I just was lazy about back flushing it. So make sure you back flush it and it'll work really well. And the squeeze bags were awesome. And then I also used a Platypus Hoser 2-liter. This thing lasted the entire trail. So it's pretty gnarly right now because I didn't clean it at all. And I've been home for a month and a half and I haven't cleaned it yet. But yeah, no leaks. The only thing is that it just started to break a little bit on the bite valve. But besides that, it was awesome. And then since I was known for cowgirl camping so much, I used this Tyvek sheet and it became my home. So this Tyvek is still going strong. It used to be white when I first started. And then I slept on a Thermarest Z-Lite every night. So I would say probably for my next thru hike, I would go for an inflatable sleeping pad. The Z-Lite was awesome, but as my hips got bonier, it was getting a little bit uncomfortable. But the nice thing about this is you can pretty much set it out wherever you want and have a siesta. And my bed was also ready in about 2 seconds at night too. Thank you all for tuning in. It's been a blast reminiscing of my glory days on the PCT. If you have any further questions about my gear, you're welcome to follow me at The Braided Hiker on Instagram. I also have a blog feed going for the trek, so that you can find that at thetrek.co/author/Rebecca-Burns and see a full list of the gear that I carried as well. So it's been a blast. Happy trails.